All right, family. All right. A good morning to you. A happy April the 7th, 2025 on a Monday morning. Good morning, everybody. Right, as we continue down the road of the month of April, we're going to have a little separate talk right now. This is probably we'll see how many views this gets. I know some of the family are not wrestling fans, some are, but the kind of talk that we're going to have today is just about wrestling. Okay, and when I say just about wrestling, I mean just about wrestling. This is probably not going to, it'll go a little bit because there's a couple matches, a couple things to react to, talk about. Right, AEW's pay-per-view Dynasty in good old Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, right? The city of brotherly love. Side note, man, again, when we're talking about the setup of this nation, family, again, us here on A Different View, let's do this, right? Let's do the open. We'll not skip it. We'll not skip it on this one here. Welcoming us almost to 1,200 plus strong, right? Yep. Almost a 1,200 plus strong, ever rising, who believe in, who love after, who seek, search, right? Hunger and thirst for, and just have plain fun with A Different View, right? Family, welcome in. Our lives, ladies and gentlemen, you got to have some fun. You got to have, what is your hobby? We did that a couple of months ago, right? That was a national focus on hobbies. Family, we too long, we stay stuck in it, and we're going to add this into the podcast, but because again, this is my life on display, right? As we choose in a respectful and honorable manner, of course, because that's how life is supposed to be. Side note, while we say this, just for the parents out there, right? Because we're coming up on Mother's Day next month, we're coming up on Father's Day next month. This is really a challenge, man. This is a challenge. I went through it, right? As a child with my parent, right? We talked about my mother and we had and my dad, right? Shout out to my parents in heaven one time, man, right? That put the time in, put the work in, man, right? This is what it is. Set me on a path, different hobbies that I have and stuff like that. All things that I learned from being around them, right? Being around various family members and stuff, man. Family, when they say a village, it take a village to raise a child. This is for real, for real. Okay. Some people are going to do again, there's a good defense in the mind, right? Because you can't receive. Especially when this is for all of us. We had spoken, I had gotten a conversation with a brother and he was right, talking about weight loss, right? Minority Health Month, man. Two black brothers talking. This is real. See, we got to get to the point where we can really talk to each other because we can't. By and large, we really can't. All right, it get too deep in the kitchen, the communicative skills go down the toilet. That's just what it is, right? Side note before we get into this wrestling pay-per-view. Brothers call you out, call you lazy, man. You got to take that. You got to take that, family, right? Again, the outward body shows a whole lot of stuff. We can coddle our pain, family, or we can turn that thing into a most powerful weapon, right? That's a real thing. We do not take away from people's pain. There's some stuff out here I'm seeing, and this is old belief, man. Like the suffering of the black man and woman is like, God is using it for their salvation on some level. Nope. No. The enemy. See, your open enemy. See, we don't recognize our open enemy, man. We're not doing this. This is another one of these Christian things. Unfortunately, right? That like all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose, right? We take that verse in the New Testament, we go hog wild with it. Lord, we go hog wild with it. Same thing we had spoken a while ago about like sickness. God put the sickness on you to teach you something. No. See, this is why folks don't, and they shouldn't. They should not believe your message, right? We're going to get into another conversation here on this response. Anybody see this a couple days ago, man? This is a response from Marvin Sapp on the Ricky Smiley show, man. Did y'all see this? It's a shame when they talk about this Jezebel in the church. While, of course, most of the people back then in the Old Testament, in Bible times, again, Middle Eastern folks, you're talking about there's some dark and tan skin tone people over there. But I digress. When we speak on the word, the name Jezebel, right? And the Jezebel that's in the church. Hypocrisy, a lack of honesty, greed is at its utmost. And it shows up more in just this sexual impropriety and all that stuff. Although you have had pastors knock up kids, right? Early ages. You've had a whole lot of stuff, right? And so much so that the impropriety in the church, they've made TV shows off it. And we're not just talking the Old Testament. We're talking about the tropes that happen in churches today, family. It's the various different TV shows that I've watched, that I've had the time to sit down with my wife and watch. Shocking the mess you find. Shout out to you, honey, one time, right? Guys, we not giving evil a pass over here. What are we doing? What are we can see, again, to each their own, right? We full on believe that here on this podcast, but no. What? No, we're good over here with that, right? Us a different view, family. We're good over here with that. No, the enemy comes. The enemy. Now, see, again, shout out to our Muslim brothers one time when they call the white man the devil, okay? We, here on this podcast, we believe that it is not all of them. But you have a group, leader of the pack, right? Like when you look down in hell, right? You got the devil is at the top of the thing. Okay, you can't. And then those third of the angels that came with him. Okay. Right. So we're going to take this to establish a thought process here, just to, again, a different view. Right. One, we don't make it spooky. It's not ookity oop spook. We're not doing that here. We do not discredit possession, spirit possession. We're not talking about that. Right. I have too much of a healthy respect for the spiritual world to not give credit to that. Okay. But at the end of the day, folks, this is human interactions that we are doing off the wild, silly thoughts in our mind. Again, from the maker standpoint, as far as the judgment goes, that's coming down on what people are doing. And you see what people are doing in real time. Right. That's why we got so much protest, another topic that we will talk about next time. Because that's just a starter point. But I digress. It's necessary. You need to see it. People need to speak out. You got the other side speaking out all day long, telling you how wrong you are. Anyway. Okay. Yeah, we don't, no. The black man, the black woman, the brown, yellow seed, the red seed, the sun, again, we've already established on this podcast when we talk about the white women, right? We just got off of National Women's History Month in March, right? That's the main focus of the month. There's other focuses, but that's the main focus of the month. We're gonna go over some here in April later in another episode, right? This, ladies and gentlemen, we just got to understand the play. What it shows when a lot of these comments sometimes is that people don't understand the play, man. Again, the game is to keep you down. They use belief. They use whatever they can to keep you down. That's exactly what they did to take over these lands. And that game, that strategy ain't changed, right? As they say, as we've already established, there is nothing new under the sun. There's another cute phrase that's out there, is that the devil got no new tricks. And, and damn it, if that ain't true. No, everybody ain't got your evil intention on the mind, which is why those who don't need to stand up and be firm and counted for. We talking about separating the wheat from the chaff, y'all. Right? Anyway, Aew Dynasty. The first matchup here, Toni Storm versus Megan Bayne. Of course, this is in Philly, so they played off of the trope of Rocky. Okay, Megan Bayne is a tall sister. Okay. Buxom, as the old word goes, right? That just means how you built, right? Thick or not thick, right? Okay. Both body types are to be respected. Okay. Lord. Anyway. Now, you know what? Take a second to talk about it. The same thing with male and female. While you're trying to define what boy and girl is, but we ain't yet understood the totality of that which is masculine and feminine. So we look kind of silly out here, family. Okay, a woman who is built with muscles, or a woman who is skinny with little muscles, or whatever. There's so many variety, y'all. Come on, whatever they taught you. Just relook again. Okay. Yes, there are certain characteristics to masculine. Yes, there are certain characteristics to feminine. They do not end there. Okay. Yeah. Again, you can believe what you was taught. Like we said on the podcast, couple, maybe an episode or two ago. If we just did the opposite of everything Master taught us, we'd be all right. That was just the truth I learned listening to another episode of myself on a different podcast. But it spurred on a thought. See, again, I'm all about things that's going to spur me on a thought. I'm done listening to the same old rhetoric. That ain't got us anywhere in life. Same thing with wrestling, because you saw a lot of that last night in this pay-per-view. The same old, same old. And it can get you nowhere, right? Same thing you're seeing over in WWE. Although we shout out Tiffany Stratton, man. We shout out Tiffany Stratton. Somebody got to take a shot at Charlotte Flair. This thing with listen, shout out to Ric Flair, okay, and the trailblazing that he has done, okay? Trailblazing, right? Jet flying, woo, kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, son of a gun, right? We we understand all that and we respect that, okay? But there comes a point where this girl is just, and we do not discredit the youth living in the bounty of their elders and ancestors, because that's life, okay? That's supposed to happen. That's another one of these tropes people got out here, like you ain't supposed to benefit off what your parents and grandparents and griggity greats have done. Yes, you should, just like they did. Okay, we got again. You're chasing greed and masses lies, and now you fall for that every time. Each generation is benefiting off the next. That's how this works, and that is again, because that's how it works. This is a natural progression. Okay. So this kind of we'll say it. We'll try not to be too colorful, right? This male member waving that we do is kind of, or if we're talking in the female thing, this chest waving thing that we do, or, booty waving thing that we do is a little too much, y'all. It's a little too much. We're making divisions, which you see in the slave codes that Massa brought to the West from the East. We'll just let Snoop play here for a little bit. Little music on the track. We're trying to get away from it. Putting up too many music tracks. Man, I love that clock, man. That was an awesome find by the missus, man. I love that clock, right? Anyway, man, again, it's about getting into things that are wholesome, which is why I don't understand why people have a problem with Snow White, man. This new movie was anyway. I'll leave it alone. Let's keep on AEW for a second, right? We don't want to stray off too far in the woods. Again, these tropes of masculine and feminine, just drop it, y'all. I don't know how to say it. We a team on here. This comparisons and So Megan Bain's there. Toni Storm is playing Rocky. She has been in a very good. I think honestly, when you talk about AEW, probably the best thing that they got going right now is the Toni Storm, timeless Toni Storm, kind of playing off the 1920s actress type trope. The way, the Joan Crawford, Mommy Dearest. If y'all ain't seen Mommy Dearest, one, that's a good movie to watch during Mother's Day because it shows you the impropriety of the mother. While we're talking masculine and feminine, and the same thing happens with fathers. Of course, we've been seeing this thing here with Dr. Umar Johnson coming around, talking about his baby mama and all this kinds of stuff, man. Fatherhood is where it's at, family. The family is where it's at, family. And again, another one of these things that Massa got us on is no family, or restricted look on what family looks like. But I digress. Toni Storm, she's playing the Rocky element. Again, Megan Bain's more like the Ivan Drago. I don't know why I was going to say Ivor. That's the dude from WWE. Anyway, shout out to the War Raiders one time because they can't even do that gimmick without messing with it. But anyway, the Scandinavian brother, right? And sister. We're talking them Vikings, right? Okay. Yeah, Ivan Drago. So she won. She took the ass whooping Toni Storm did, but she wound up winning, right? So good pay-per-view. good action, right? They got Penelope Ford. For the again, we're talking to the wrestling part of the family. Some of y'all not gonna understand, right? But just hang in there. Use your computer or whatever to kind of look up these characters' names so that you can see what we're talking about here. They use Penelope Ford here as the that slinky, sexy kind of thing to bring this to bring a little opposing look to Megan Bain, because she's supposed to be like this Greek goddess and all that. Sometimes I think it's a little extra, but it is what it is. So, they were there and there was some interference, and it's the classic like old school WWE match where the ref catches the interference, kicks the person out, the other one wins, right? So it was for the women's championship, the AEW women's championship. And again, Toni Storm retained. So that was cool. The next one here, the Death Riders and Rated FTR. It's an old school trope. Edge went over to AEW, right? Now he wrestles under the name Cope. Again, I think that's silly. I know we're trying to find a 4-letter word to kind of match Edge. Listen, Edge is Edge, okay? We're talking the leader stealing, right? Ladders, chairs, table climbing type dude, right? This is who he is, okay? The almost getting caught in a steroid scandal with one Mr. Randy Orton, right? Back in the day, for the wrestling fan who remembers, right? This is Edge, okay? The rated R superstar. That's why they say rated FTR is the name. But they've been playing on that forever. It was rated RKO with Randy. They do it every time. It's easy, right? Not saying it's not effective. It's just this is what it is, right? So they just repeated it over here. The Death Riders is this group with Jon Moxley. They're supposed to be kind of, it's almost like it gives off an NWO kind of thing. It's not NWO, right? And I think they've kind of beleaguered the topic. It's gotten a little, it's gotten stale. It's gotten stale, family. So, I mean, they got the one girl here who's an ex-UFC person. If I could just interject this for 1 second, could wrestling stop? I understand we're trying to make it look like it's a fight, and maybe you want to pull some elements. I get it, but it's almost like we are bag chasing UFC as wrestling fans, family. What are we doing? What are we doing? This is no. This is not what built this sport in our minds. And it's a nice little side. It's a side mission, for our video gamers out. It's like a nice little side mission from the main story. You kind of look at what's his name, Ken Shamrock, Lesnar, and CM Punk have both dibbled and dabbled back and forth in it. Although they are wrestlers, they do this all the time. Having the MMA background is cool. A martial arts background is cool. We saw one person here in this match who was like that. In this pay-per-view, Speedball Bailey, Mike Bailey, right? So, he's barefoot. He wrestles like Matt Riddle, all that. It's cool to an extent, but WWE and these promotions kind of chase you. Just be yourself, right? So, of course, Rated FTR loss is due to, again, more outside interference from all these other people coming all over the place, right? And then FTR, the Revival, if you remember them from WWE, right? Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood. I want to say Dax might have went under a different name, maybe not in WWE, but they basically spike pile drive Edge and they give him a concerto and his own move and all that kind of stuff, right? Same thing we saw with the Judgment Day. So again, it's kind of stale. The match was stale. Anthony Bowen's returning. That was during the 0 hour. That was a little pre-show before the pay-per-view, so that was cool. We'll see how far they go with it. They call him the pride of all-American, professional wrestling, the pride of professional wrestling. Anthony Bowens is homosexual, okay? So we're going to see how far they go with that. Again, back in the day with Titus O'Neil and Darren Young, right? For those who remember in WWE, that tag team didn't go too far because, unfortunately, there's a sick bias where it comes to our homosexual brothers and sisters existing in this planet. Let's say it again, right? This is going to clinch the butt cheeks of the Christian and who's going to hell and all that kind of stuff. That's fine, right? There is a serious, unnecessary bias when it comes to the homosexual and our homosexual brothers and sisters on this planet. They are also in a list with the Negro, with the child, with the female of those who are to be on the bottom, using the Bible and everything else, right? And you see it come out in wrestling. This is why when people say that, I don't want to see no politics. Again, the word politic means to talk about city and state. I'm sorry, everything you see in wrestling is pulling off of something from real life or in whatever city or state you live in. That's what they're doing. Hell, they made a whole promo off of Jerry Lawler's heart attack on live TV on Monday Night Raw a couple years ago. Who remembers that, family? Never mind. So yeah, that Max Caster, Anthony Bowens came back on this Max Caster thing, and it was, he's doing this best wrestler alive. Again, Max Caster got himself into some trouble, rapping about some stuff that used to be called the tag team, the Acclaimed, and they used to go scissoring around everywhere, which is all really cool gimmick. But Max Caster had a little bit too much to say about the man. Some things were really poking and making fun at folks. So, AEW had to step in. And what they've given in return is kind of silly. So, I mean, just at this point, take him off air, because this best wrestler alive thing it's silly. It's like, it's a time waster, really. It's funny, one fan in the crowd, when you watch the pay-per-view, had something like the best jobber alive. A jobber in wrestling is someone who is never going to come up, or barely ever comes up, and he's just there to put over the superstar. All right, so they're what they call squash matches, where these things go really, really fast. It's not too long. Again, it's just to establish the main character, and then the other one just goes into oblivion. That's where Max Caster is right now, in wrestling oblivion. So it is what it is. We'll see what they do with Anthony Bowens going forward. He's got good wrestling talent. It's good. He's got Billy Gunn. Shout out to Billy Gunn for getting that, DX member one time, D Generation X, screw all these generational titles and stuff they're giving folks. That's, again, Master's way of dividing folks, just like they divided the slave on the plantation. But we'll leave it alone for folks to finally figure out, right? Will Ospreay and Kevin Knight. This brother Kevin Knight, man, let me tell you what, came from Japan promotion. And Japan be doing its thing. So shout out to New Japan Wrestling, right? Starrcade, all of that stuff that goes on in the Far East, right? For those who have an issue with this West East kind of thing, right? They train their people well. They have a serious following, but they stay under the radar. They stay to themselves. Where in life could the rest of our people groups, including black folks, it's time to get your own, man. Anyway, we're going to get there. Life demands that we get there. So we're going to get there. Will Ospreay, and for those who are really about people, they're going to hop along on the good train, right? Will Ospreay, Kevin Knight, again, for those who, Will Ospreay is a very good English wrestler. And by very good, I mean he's probably up in at least the top 10, 20 good wrestlers right now, right? He's it. Okay. This brother Kevin Knight, though, stayed with him every step of the way, man. He's got good leaping ability, kind of like, for those who watch WWE, Montez Ford from the Street Profits. Although I do not like the way they're doing this with the Street Profits. They're all in black. They're not with the crowd anymore. Anytime you got to win championship belts, you always got to bow down, man. Ugh. Anyway, right? Will Ospreay, Kevin Knight. Some people don't have a problem with that. I do, right? So, good match. Let's see. A little note that I left here. Under different circumstances, Kevin Knight would have won, and he would have. He really wrestled a match where they could have called him the winner in that match, but it's Will Ospreay, right? So you're going to take the L. The kid is young and he's still learning, so you're going to take that L, brother, right? But we cannot wait to see what you do next, man. We really can't wait to see what you do next, because there is some stuff there with that. Next match. Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe is part of the Briscoe brothers, not to be confused with the old school Briscoe brother tag team back in the day. Pat, I want to say it was Pat Briscoe. Let me just look this up so I'm not misquoting here. We don't like misquoting. Briscoe Rose. Jack and Gerald. Excuse me, Jack and Gerald Briscoe. The Briscoe brothers from back in the day. Not to be mistaken with the Briscoe, Briscoe, as compared to Brisco. The old school tag team was with an O. The new one was with an E. Mark Briscoe and his brother Jay. His brother Jay and I want to say his daughter died in a horrible car accident a couple of years ago. So Mark has been wrestling alone. Shout out to you, bro. Right? It's cool to see people carry on when this kind of stuff happens, right? Because it shows an inner fortitude. It's hard. It's tough, man. It's tough to keep living life when you've lost family members, right? Shout out to us in the family who have lost family members, and we keep it moving. This is what I mean about us banding together, family. It's all we got, right? So you're watching this in real time, and it's cool. It's cool to see. Dude is, he's doing his thing. He's on the back end of his career. He's a very charismatic person. You talk like this, and he say the conglomeration, and it's all this and that, and that, he's like an old school preacher, right? But it's funny. It's entertaining. So it's cool to see. Hopefully, everybody on the podcast enjoyed that little invitation right there, right? Kyle Fletcher is he's coming into his own, but he was a famous tag team wrestler now on his own with Mark Davis, the United Empire, I believe their name was, from Australia. And you can hear the accent when they start talking. They from Australia, right? Good day, mate. Yeah, you start hearing it real clear. But he's a good wrestler. I feel like they push him over a little bit, but he's a good wrestler, right? Again, it's an old versus young thing. Kyle is younger. Of course, we already mentioned Mark was older. Again, this match was, you knew who was winning, right? Mark before had beat him during some tournament they had on their main TV show, AEW's main TV show, Dynamite. It was either Dynamite or Collision, I don't remember at the time, but this is kind of the lick back, as they say, right? So Kyle won. Again, it's more TV time feeling personally for me. Again, I think we could have did that in a better light, but still, taking into account everything going on in both wrestlers' lives, where they're going and stuff like that, it still had some good content to it, okay? Jericho versus Bandito. Now, Chris Jericho, right? This man is like almost 60, and he's still wrestling, right? We know wrestlers can't let it go, okay? Chris Jericho is an elite, right? To take from the all elite part of all elite wrestling, AEW, right? That's what it stands for. Chris, brother, if you ever listen to this, man, it's time to hang up the belt. Well, you lost the belt at this thing, but it's time to hang up the boots, man. Again, we shout out to older wrestlers, man, right? They keep it going. They pay their dues. They call their shot when they want to leave. We get that. But like looking at the Undertaker, different groups that Vince and the gang keeps rolling out there, so they can keep making money, not really putting out good wrestling talent, but using nostalgia to create for money. Okay, it's all a mental play, family, right? They put themselves in harm's way doing this. Wrestling is that we do this. It's fake. It's fake. Okay, the outcomes are predetermined, kind of like in your own life. You're going to go to work and only make so much because the man's making sure you only make so much. So before we do this, the outcomes, again, I think we have killed the imagination so that it's hard for us to imagine now. Right? But in order to do it, kind of like the love of the great body of people growing cold, people's imagination that's been given you by the maker, we stop using it. Which is dangerous, because that's the area where you think up new things. And then your science part of your mind kicks in, also given to you by the maker. And now that's how you're making inventions. See, at some point you imagine flying in the sky. You imagine it. You ain't got no real basis for it yet. Never mind. We're going to let it go, right? That's just flying we talking about, right? Jericho, see, again, as a person thinks in their heart, so are they. Anyway, your imagination is one of those places where that thinking can run wild, man. And we all about balance over here, family. So this excuse we keep using, oh, you can go too far. We, yeah, again, we did that live on TV. Clearly, I've went too far with way too much food and not enough exercise. Again, you can go way too far with exercise. Yes, you can. And that's normally when your body starts hurting. Anyway, Jericho versus Bandito, man. He was the Ring of Honor champion. Chris Jericho, Ring of Honor is kind of like NXT now for WWE. Ring of Honor is still a long-standing promotion, but now it's again smaller promotions because of money and the way the scales have been tipped by WWE. Again, we acknowledge that it's also small promotions going to make less money. We get that, okay? But this monopoly that WWE has done has starved the landscape. Kind of like how when the Europeans settled on these lands, taking the food and stuff and being greedy like they were over in Europe, you start starving the land. Never mind. Bandito, it was his mask versus the belt. That was this whole thing between Chris Jericho. Now, when you talk about our Mexican brothers and sisters, shout out our Mexican brothers and sisters. Shout out to Luchador, the Mexican wrestler one time, right? Got these colorful masks, colorful colors. That's how the people who are, as they call them, colored, operate in life. Very colorful. Black folks, very colorful. I know it bothers some folks, but Mexicans, very colorful. Different Latin groups of people, or Latin as they say, instead of us knowing their actual tribal names. They're very colorful, right? Our island brothers and sisters, the Caribbean, colorful. All you got to do is look at Carnival one time. Shout out to the historical significance of Carnival, right? Colorful. You watch these parades in, like, you're going to have the West Indies parade coming up here in a little bit in New York. Shout out to New York one time, my home state. It's going to be colorful. It's how we operate. We operate in color, man, right? I know we get made fun of for it, but that's how it works. It's how we see things. Everybody's different. Bandito, the mask is a holy thing in Luchador. I know they play off the trope, and, you know, wrestlers agree to be playing off the trope with the mask and stuff like that. But taking the mask, it's like taking that person's identity, so on and so forth. So really, on some level, while it has happened before in wrestling history, you know, me personally, I didn't think it was going to. And Chris Jericho almost pulled it off, right, with the cheating, and a bat was used and all this types of stuff, right, because he goes around carrying a bat, similar to Sting carrying a bat back in the day, right, in WCW. And even his run and his end with AEW a couple of years ago. But Chris got caught, right? The family, Bandito's family, his mama and his sister come out and you're like, hey, ref. It was cool. It was cool. You know, he used a bat. He hurt my son. Blah, blah. You know, all that kind of stuff was going on. They found it. They restarted the match. Bandito won. We got a new Ring of Honor champion, right? So shout out Bandito. Shout out to your brother, right? That you wear that belt and that mask in pride as you always do. Next match, Daniel Garcia. We coming to the end on this. We got 3 left, y'all. Thank you for hanging in here with me. Daniel Garcia and Adam Cole. For those who are WWE fans, we know Adam Cole and the Undisputed Kingdom very well, right? Undisputed Era, excuse me, right? WWE's kind of trying to chase the Attitude Era, so everything up until that point was the Attitude Era. Keith Lee was around that time. Velveteen Dream was around that time. I missed that dude. He was cool. I know some people have a problem with men operating in femininity. That energy couldn't possibly be there with the masculine. I know. But at the same time, and listen, this is not downgrading anybody in how you think, okay? But we're just saying this is the different view of it, that the things actually operate both at the same time in both people. So this was for the TNT championship with them. And again, you know, it's a match and there's a lot of, you know, it was a hard fought match. But again, Daniel Garcia had the belt too long. And then in the match, he's like trying to hurt Adam Cole. And you can kind of see, yeah, Adam's winning, and he won. Right? Adam Cole won. Adam Cole, baby, right? It's kind of Shawn Michaelish 2.0. Not really on the same level, but he kind of parades himself a little bit between Shawn and Triple H, especially in his ring entrance. It's very Triple H-ish. You know, no spitting the water, but he pauses and he's standing on the ring and you got the spotlight on him, and it's, you know. So we'll see where they go with that. We'll see if Adam Cole can kind of bring some more notoriety to that. Coming back from bad ankle injury a couple of years ago, about a year or so ago. So we'll see how that goes. Next, triple threat match for the AEW International Belt. Kenny Omega. Right? Enough said. Again, wrestling fans know who Kenny Omega is. If you don't, just check some stuff out online. Same thing with like Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega. These guys are the other guys you don't know about, but that have always been there, and they're very, very talented wrestlers. Right? Kenny is older now, so a little less, right? But still, the GOAT, right? Kind of like looking at John Cena. He's going to be doing some moves and all that kind of thing. I make that comparison just to talk about as far as long-standing wrestlers who have been prominent. Okay, we'll leave alone the John Cena thing for another time. We'll leave that for the WrestleMania talk. Speedball Mike Bailey, again another one of these guys from Japan, I believe, and of course Ricochet. People don't know, bald-headed, tan skin, again, as Ben Franklin said, tawny brother, right? Shout out to Ricochet. Honestly, he is, man. I mean, you know, his wife was the ring announcer for a long time. They all left WWE. Again, they're unutilized, so why would you stay? Same thing in life. I don't know why we're staying around and we're not banding together doing things. We're waiting on, I don't know, we're waiting on this manna from heaven from that man. Leave this mess alone. This is trash. They don't want us. So why would you stay? Again, we're gonna get into that topic next time. And it deals in the church. Family really deals in the church. There's some stuff I found out that really heartbreaking, but it's reality. It's reality. And it's good that we know. So good match. Everybody went back and forth. Some of it seemed like Kenny Omega was just taking some time to rest outside of the ring because he's older. We all know wrestlers do that. But it was a good match. Okay? It was a good match. So Kenny retained, of course, so on and so forth. The last one is the AEW Championship. Really bothered me because I thought Swerve was winning. I gone on record, I believe, on the podcast saying that Swerve was going to win right before, and AEW would have been smart to do that if you're trying to stay up with WWE, because I'm pretty sure, again, Jey Uso is winning at WrestleMania. Just saying. And everybody in the stands is going to be eating. It's going to be that kind of thing. Excuse me. So Swerve loses to Jon Moxley due to outside interference. Shocker, right? You know, again, they have this woman, Marina Shafir, like we just talked about. She's just standing there next to Jon Moxley. She's an ex-MMA fighter. It's just, the MMA chase is just way too, they don't even utilize the woman. She just stands there with the belt in the suitcase, y'all. Like, what are we doing? Creativity really since probably the era of aggression in WWE has really there's just no good promotion. There's no real good WCW. AEW was there in the beginning until Cody decided to leave for WWE and the money, which is his choice, you know. And again, when these revolutions and these types of things happen, you gotta stay in it, right? Same kind of similar thing with the Negro Leagues. Just stay there. That's all. Let's stay there. They don't even want you anyway. They don't want to do right by the fans. They want more money. Right? Again, they say they're doing right by the fans, and they'll throw you a couple bones here and there, little promotions or a couple matches here and there. But they don't, it's not about the fan, man. Anyway. So yeah, Jon Moxley won, you know, so we continue this whole kind of NWO trope. And we'll see where it goes, right? We'll see where it goes. Again, you know, Swerve winning is good for wrestling. I got to say that. Jey Uso winning is good for wrestling. It's time to come away from the same old trope we've been watching, family, right? Let somebody else have the ball and run with it for a minute. But we will see. We will see what wrestling has. Again, April 19th and 20th will be WrestleMania season. That'll be probably the next time that we really talk about wrestling, because I don't do I don't do it every week, Raw and Smack. I could, but I'm not. Nah, no, we're good. All right. So that's what I got for y'all today, family, on the subject of wrestling. Right, Aew Dynasty's pay-per-view. That's my reaction to it. Thank y'all, family, for hanging in there with me. Pass this along to people who like wrestling. This way we can have a, conversation back and forth. There's comments to leave and talk about and all that kind of thing. We can have a respectful, honest, open conversation, right? That's what we encourage here. Yeah, that's really what I got for y'all, family. And until next time, and as always, thank you for walking this road with me, right? And until next time, and as always, look to find the beauty in a different view.